This bullying case made national headlines and led to protests in the streets of Plano. A mom accused a group of teenagers of forcing her son to drink a cup of urine. Now she owes one of them more than $1 million. A jury found the mom, Summer Smith, and her attorney intentionally inflicted emotional distress and publicized the private information of one of the boys, Asher Vann. We spoke with Smith to get her reaction to the verdict. But we start with now 19-year-old Asher Vann, who we're hearing from for the very first time. Well, let's start with you, Asher. Talk to me, it's been nearly 5 years, it's been 5 years now. What was the effect of all of this for you?
It was horrible. I couldn't go anywhere. I felt like my whole life was flipped upside down at such a young age. It felt like it was over. I'm happy that now it's changing, and it's just going to keep on changing for the better. I have to share my story.
Why is it important for you to share your story?
I want to show people who I really am, and I'm so happy that today I'm able to kind of give a glimpse to people of who I really am. I am a loving, kind person, and I want to get that out there. I want people to make an assumption on me based on what I say today.
What was your reaction when this verdict came down, when the judge signed this judgment?
Well, up until then, I was sweating. I was shaking. But then when the word got out by the judge about how it went, I felt so happy. I cried, actually. It didn't feel possible, actually. It felt like I would never see or hear this to this day. Now, that's obviously not the case, and I'm so overwhelmed with joy from that.
Take me back to 5 years ago. What happened?
Well, me and my friends from school, we had a sleepover for my birthday, and we played a prank. First one, we went to sleep, got pranked. It was immature and stupid, but it was nothing like how it was perceived in the media. When a week or two after my birthday, it kind of went to the media and got outraged and twisted and turned, and I wasn't able to tell my side of the story.
How do you feel about that prank now?
It was immature. It was stupid. It was nasty, but that's not who I am, and that's not me today.
When we talk about this immature prank, did you force him to drink urine?
No, no one forced anything. Nothing like that.
Given what happened, what do you think about how it played out publicly? Do you think that was appropriate?
No. I was 13 and I was having bricks thrown through my own house window. I was getting death threats, not just me, but my parents were told how people would gut me and kill me. That's not how anyone should react or treat someone, no matter what.
One of the allegations was that you and others used racial slurs. Did you do that?
No. This was a friend for 3 years prior than that. He would frequently go to my house. I treated him like a brother. He was just a friend. I wouldn't use that, and obviously if I did, he wouldn't have been at my house for 3 years straight.
As this kind of went public and got bigger and bigger, what the story you saw in the media, how did that compare to what happened that night?
Oh, it was like two humongously different stories. One story that was being pushed never happened, and the other story that did happen, we weren't allowed to say. We couldn't get out there until now. It was the story that was pushed 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It was pushing as a fake racism, as torture, as I had no idea this was happening, even though me and my dad were the one picking him up after school, taking him home. It was played out so differently, so wildly. I don't know. That's not how it happened at all.
How did that feel?
It hurt so bad. I felt destroyed. I felt like I gave up on a bunch of stuff I liked. I felt emotionally locked, if that makes sense. It's hard to trust people, to believe that people are my friends when at the age of 13 it was all flipped. Things are getting better, but still I don't feel like who I should have been at this age because of that.
Are you sorry that it happened? Are you sorry that that he drank the urine, that you played this prank?
Well, I feel bad for doing a prank that was immature, but I don't feel bad that I was crucified on media. I feel bad that I hurt a friend's feelings, but I don't feel bad how my feelings were hurt. There was equally everyone who was hurt, and everyone should apologize and should feel like they are owed an apology.
That, I think, goes right to my next question, which is, the jury found for you. You won this case. Were there any winners in this story?
No. On paper, says that I won a court settlement or court case. I didn't. I'm not going to see that money. I'm not trying to do that. Wasn't trying to do that court case for the money. I wanted my name out there in a good light that was pushed out there unfairly and unrightly by a false narrative. I wanted that fixed. More importantly, I wanted to be forgiven. I wanted to be treated like a normal person, so that there was no winners in the end. Because no matter what, all that news about me, all those false narratives are still preconceived in people's heads and still online 4 years ago. I'm only now able to share my side of the story, which I'm hoping overwhelms the past.
Thank you for sharing it with us. You've answered all of my questions. We can come back in a second because I'm going to ask your attorney some questions too. But is there anything else you want to make sure right now that you can think of that you want to make sure to say?
I just kind of want to say that, I hope people really take a chance to look at me and think of me for what they should think of. That's all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Justin, let me ask you some questions about this because this is a case that's unlike ones that we've seen before. What stood out to you as you started working with the Vann family?
Having worked with them for 5 years, what really stood out to me was the lack of perspective that I saw from the other side. To go through all of this, everyone realizes that no one was a winner here. This took a significant portion of all of these kids' lives. Not only the lives, not only the childhood of Asher, but of the other students involved as well. And to hear that the attorney and Ms. Smith continued to be defiantly proud of how they behaved during this time and would do it all over again just was absolutely flabbergasting.
You went through this case, had depositions and evidence, witnesses that you spoke with as you went to trial on this. What do you think helped convince the jury?
I think that the testimony of Asher, when they got the opportunity to know him and hear his side for the first time, he was convincing. I think the testimony from the detectives, the school officials, that this was not racially motivated, and I think the defiance of Ms. Smith and Ms. Cole on the stand, continuing to push their narrative without any remorse or regret, convinced the jury that a grievous wrong had been committed and they set out to fix it.
We talked a little bit about this on the phone, but have you heard of a case like this happening before? I mean, a judgment against an attorney in a case like this?
I have not. Again, this was an extraordinary use of an attorney being hired to supposedly file a lawsuit, which we went through the proper channels and used the court of law. They used the court of public opinion to raise money. And I have not seen a case where we were able to really go and turn over every rock and really realize the extent of the conduct and hold them accountable, not just the parties involved, but also the attorney who advised them.
What's the bottom line, do you think, here, big picture about this case?
I think the most important thing that people need to take away is when you see a headline, when you see something on social media, we as a society need to stop the urge to immediately have outrage, immediately pick a side, and immediately take action, no matter what the facts or no matter how much time has or hasn't been to investigate and find the truth. And more importantly, I think people need to understand that your conduct online and what you post online, what you share online, and the effect that it has on children and other people's lives can be something you can be held accountable for. The internet for too long has been treated as some sort of ghost universe where you can behave however you want, say whatever you want, destroy and hurt people however you want without consequence. And I think as a country, we're finally turning around and realizing that shouldn't be, and it isn't true anymore.
There's obviously a monetary amount in this. Do you expect to be able to collect that money?
Until we get some concession that mistakes were made, and as Asher said, that parties need to come together and try to reconcile, I'm going to pursue collecting that money. I doubt that either one of them are going to be able to pay the full amount, but until we get some vindication from them that they are taking responsibility for what they did to multiple children's lives 5 years ago, we're going to continue to pursue the judgment.
I want to ask a couple questions about the case because some folks may remember it from 5 years ago but not know all of the details, especially if they heard about it in the first couple weeks and not beyond. Talk to me about what happened with the school district in terms of any kind of punishment, with the criminal investigation in terms of any kind of repercussions.
Sure. The important thing to remember is that sleepover happened and ended without incident. It wasn't until 2 weeks later that this incident came to light and that the parent of the student involved decided that it needed to be shared far and wide. She hired a attorney, they created a narrative, they created a GoFundMe, and this became a media tour for the attempt to raise money, and it was successful. They raised almost $120,000 supposedly for counseling and for private school. Meanwhile, there was a criminal investigation, the school under pressure reversed course, and this case kind of took off. In the 5 years since, the criminal cases turned out to be much ado about nothing. The grand jury declined to indict. The federal district court found that the school district was not able to punish for this conduct and apply definitions that did not apply in the law. And finally, a judgment was reached that these parties intentionally inflicted emotional distress and disclosed private information about minors that caused significant damage, not only to their past, but to their future.
Were there any criminal charges in this case?
The grand jury declined to indict. There was a time when I believe that there were some citations issued, but all of those were eventually dismissed. This was 5 years ago. This was a quarter of these kids' lives that was affected by this story. And I would urge people to realize how much time, money, and effort and pain people have to go through when these types of false narratives are pushed and adopted by the public. And I would hope that everyone would take a breath, and the next time they have the urge or opportunity to do so, they allow the process to play out and the truth to prevail.
That was lawyer Justin Nichols and 19-year-old Asher Vann. After we spoke with them, we talked to Summer Smith, the mom who accused Vann of bullying and now owes him more than $1 million. Here's an extended version of that interview. First, tell me, how do you feel about this jury verdict?
I think that I feel the way that anybody would feel if their child was a victim of a crime, and as a result of defending them, the jury returned an astronomical amount to feel that should be owed. I'm still taking everything in, but as far as I'm concerned, justice will prevail in my appeal.
not everyone has experienced this feeling that you're feeling. How would you put words to it if you had to?
I would say I was shocked, but I do think that the jury received a one-sided account of events. There were certain things that I couldn't discuss, I couldn't talk about, I couldn't tell them. I couldn't even speak to like the charges specifically, the criminal charges that were pressed. There was evidence that I submitted that was excluded, and I did my best to represent myself. You know, I was pro se, so I will say that obviously I'm not happy, right? But I really have faith that justice will still prevail, right? I think just shocked is a accurate statement.
Let me ask this. It's been 5 years now since this happened. How are you? How is your son?
I am attempting to move forward, attempting to move past it. My son is doing great. He went to therapy, extensive therapy for a few years. He's in college now. He is living his best life. And as you can see, like, he doesn't sit here next to me today or anything like that. It's because I am trying my best not to re-victimize him. I'm trying my best to keep him from having to relive a lot of the events that occurred in the past.
One of the key points in this civil case was about some of the publicity in the immediate aftermath of this incident. One clip that I think was probably played in court that we aired was a press conference where you called Asher Vann evil. Do you regret that?
I feel that the acts were vile, and I feel that that was my opinion of the act. To urinate in a cup, to put it to someone's lips, to have them drink it, I feel it was vile. And I'm not saying that it is him as who he is as a person, but I was literally speaking about the acts. I think that it was an evil act to me.
In the years that have passed since then, has your opinion changed at all?
You know, I found out things at the trial that I did not know, that had not been shared with me. But I think that my opinion about the act and about a crime being committed to my son, that is still my opinion. And obviously, Plano Police Department would not have pressed charges if they did not to feel that a crime had been committed.
Mm-hmm. Are you, looking back on this, what parts of this are you happy with how they turned out? What parts of this are you unhappy with how they turned out?
I'm happy that charges were pressed, but I am unhappy, obviously, with being made to be held accountable for trying to defend my son. I'm also not happy with anyone crucifying anyone or threatening anyone or throwing bricks at anyone's home, or stalking and harassing anyone. I would never be okay with that, and I would never support that. I was saddened to hear about some of those things, but that wasn't my intention, and those weren't my acts, wasn't my wrongdoing on that part.
It's interesting because you've used the word fight and defend your son. Give us a sense of that motivation and inspiration as a mom when you saw this video, when you started to speak out about it. What made you be so vocal?
Well, when I spoke with the school and the school said, you need to go to the police. And then I went to the police, and then the police said, well, this is a school matter. And I felt like I was going back and forth to the point to where I'm not getting anywhere. And so literally me putting the videos on Facebook was because I know that someone is gonna see this and be able to help me and be able to help my son. That was my only motivation, never to ruin anyone's life.
This verdict is an enormous sum of money. What does that mean for you financially?
As it stands right now, it is an astronomical amount. However, it is not final, right? It is appealable. My appeal has already been filed, and I think that we have this conversation after we go through the process of the appeal.
It's not over yet.
No.
I just have a quick handful more questions, and then I want to understand more about what I'm missing. One thing that, well, let me ask this. A couple things that came up when we spoke with Mr. Nichols and Mr. Vann that I want your perspective on. Was your son and Asher, were they friends before this happened?
I believe that my son thought they were friends, yes. And Asher said he felt that my son was his friend.
Okay. That's just one thing I was curious about, because I don't know that we had ever talked with you about that. Another thing that came up in the civil trial was the GoFundMe. Was the money used for counseling and schooling for your son?
I did, yes.
All of it? Portions of it?
Portions of it, yes.
What was the other portion used for?
I mean, anything to help him be able to move forward with life. He went through a traumatic experience, and these people wanted to support him. And so I used it to help him with anything he needed, whether that be an emotional support animal, taking care of that support animal, and just basically trying to create a happiness for him that I felt that he deserved to have.
Do you feel like it's been flipped so that you're on the defensive now for something that happened to your family?
Absolutely, yes. I feel like I am defending myself, yes.
How does that feel?
It doesn't feel great, but I feel like I will do what I have to do, you know? And I think it just speaks to the world that we now live in.
Looking back 5 years ago, what would you have done differently?
I really don't know what I could have done differently. I mean, I can't be responsible for the public and their actions. You know, I did take the post down when it started to become out of control. You know, I deleted the post. And so, you know, to say that my goal was to try to crucify him in the media or in the court of public opinion, as it was so often said, maybe just made that more clear. But I definitely think that defending my son was what I should have done, and I would defend my son still.
Summer, what have we not asked that you want to make sure we understand?
You know, I just think that we would not be here if it were not for the acts that were committed against him. I do just want to say I've read things where they're calling it a hoax, or they're saying, you know, it was a lie or it was all made up. The videos are there. They're unexplainable. They're undeniable. And I did not make that up. You know, it was something that happened. It was something that my son was deeply affected by. And we would not be here if it weren't for the actions that happened to my son.
The attorney who represented Smith 5 years ago was also named in the lawsuit. The jury found Kim Cole also intentionally inflicted emotional distress and publicized Vann's private information. She was not available to speak with us on camera, but told me over the phone, quote, "This entire verdict runs afoul of anything decent or just." She says she never called Vann out by name and accused him of trying to rewrite history. Like Smith, she also plans to appeal.